All right, good morning, everybody. Today, we're going to talk about working with a buyer in the purchase process. I know some of you have already taken this class, but there's always something that you forget or something new that's included, and maybe a new question or something that's asked. And today, we're going to cover the intel. So what information you need to get started, your value, tell them what you will do for them, why they want to pay you, why they want you to work with, you want them to work with you. The search using the intel for the property search, so the information you gathered is going to be useful when you're searching for properties for them. And the offer, what documents you're going to need to submit an offer. And then finally, the acceptance, what happens after your offer is accepted. And the example I always give is like, what do you do? What do you do at the end of when you get your offer gets accepted? Do you go to Disneyland? No, there's a lot of work to do after that. But we're going to start with gathering intel. So you want to send an email with questions. So what's going to happen is you're going to get a call from a buyer, and they're going to say, hey, I'd like to purchase a property. Can you help me? You're going to ask them a series of questions, and we're going to go over some of the questions you can ask them. But you can email them I guess a series of questions to prepare you for maybe a consultation that you're going to have at a later date. But we're going to include name or names, complete contact information, include phone number, email address, and current mailing address. You want to know who they are, what their phone number is, how to contact them, where they live, and do you have a property to sell now? So these are questions you can ask them over the phone, or if it's someone that reached out via email and they want to communicate that way, then you can email them these questions. But you can ask them all these questions over the phone. What has you thinking about buying right now? Have you purchased a home before? How familiar are you with the buying process? Have you been pre-approved with the lender, or are you going to buy cash? Let's see, let's see, let me move this up. What are you looking for in a real estate agent? And then we're going to go into these questions a little further. So after you ask them these questions, you get a little information, schedule a consultation. If they don't want to meet with you, then you can do this all over the phone, right? But it's better for them to come into the office and see that you're at an actual brick and mortar place, and it's not just someone that's working out of their garage, which there's nothing wrong with that. But I think people like to work with someone that's professional and works out of an office, and they have office staff, and it's an actual place, right? They're not going to get ripped off. Let's see. Remember, during the presentation, actively take notes. It shows your interest in what they've said. And additionally, you may forget some details later on. So make sure that you pretty much take notes on what they're saying. You don't want to ask them the same question 2 or 3 times, and it just shows that you're not paying attention to what they're saying, or maybe your mind's somewhere else. You want to focus on where you're at. And that's the old saying, right? Be where your feet are.
I have a question. Sorry, Carlos.
Yeah.
Do agents record the conversation? Are they allowed to? And then they input it into AI to kind of take out all the or produce all the important or transcribe, I guess, the audio.
You can ask them. I wouldn't feel comfortable with someone recording me, but there might
Yeah.
be out there that are comfortable with it. But you
Yeah.
can ask them if they're comfortable with it, and just say, just for my notes, for my note taking, I'd like to record the conversation.
Okay.
And then, so if you're meeting them at the office, you want to provide, ask them if they want some coffee or water or something, whatever, but just to make them feel comfortable here in the office. So during the presentation, review the answers to the following questions associated with the questionnaire sent, or to follow up the phone conversation you had. How do you prefer to be contacted? If they've already said this to you, then you want to just summarize. So you said you wanted me to contact you, or the best way to contact you is via text or via email or via phone. But if you didn't ask these questions, or maybe they just didn't have time to talk on the phone and just want to meet you. So this is all going to depend on how the initial phone call went, right? On whether you got to ask the questions up front, or they just want to do the consultation over the phone, or maybe they didn't have time to answer these questions and they want to meet you in person. It's gonna depend on, you know, these questions are gonna depend on that situation. So right here, like I said, if they've already answered this question, you're gonna summarize what they said, right? So you wanna know that, you want them to know that you are going to communicate with them the way that they want to be communicated with, because I know that there's certain um, buyers out there, just people out there that don't call me. I don't like phone calls. Just text me. I'll reply to you via text, or just email me. Or some people, and I think this is like with older people, they want phone calls. Hey, I want to be able to talk to the person that's representing me. So that's why this is important. Have you purchased a home before? And this is going to help you understand, I guess, the experience with the purchase process. Maybe if they haven't purchased a home before or sold a home, they don't know what the terms are, terminology. They don't know what escrow is. They don't know what the process is. So you want to take your time with them. If it's someone that's experienced, then you can go through this process a little faster. Explain to them what you're doing, and they'll know. Are you working with a lender? This is going to help you understand if they've been pre-approved or if they're going to buy cash. Also, if they're not pre-approved, you can refer them to a lender, a couple of different lenders, so they'll have a choice. If you're gonna suggest or recommend them or refer them to a lender, like I said, give them a couple different names, a couple different contacts, because if you give them one contact and they work with them and then they have a bad experience, then they're gonna blame you for it and say, but if you give them a few different contacts, you let them choose, right? They're not stuck with just one person. Do you currently have a home to sell? This is important because this is gonna help you understand, I guess, the time frame between purchasing a home and then selling their home, or the intentions. Are they gonna rent their home, their current home out? Are they gonna sell it? Do they need to sell it to purchase a new home? So there's a lot of information that you're gonna get out of this question. And a possibility of listing their home for sale, their current home for sale, if they have one. Why buy and why buy now? This is gonna help you understand the reason why they're buying, right? Is it the school district? Is it, did they get a new job? Did they relocate? Whatever the situation is, it's gonna help you understand why they're doing this. What are your timelines for purchasing a home? So again, this is gonna help you understand, are they just looking it out and they need to move by the end of summer? We still have a few months. So if that's the case, you can send them some properties just to give them an idea of how much they're selling for, with no urgency, but it's just information you're gonna be sending out to them. If they need this to buy right away, well, then you're gonna send them an automatic email. Well, you know, we talked about that last week on how to set up an automatic email in the MLS. So and we'll go through the rest of it here, but this helps you understand how soon they need to buy. What worries or concerns are in the back of your mind when you're thinking of buying? There's some buyers that might be thinking about, I don't know, if I buy now, is my home gonna drop in value in the next year or two? It's like, okay, that's not something you should worry about, because even if the value drops, it's gonna go back up at some point, and it shows historically that that's happened. Another concern might be, I don't know, interest rates. What if I buy now and interest rates drop next month? It's like, okay, there might be some concerns, and those are some valid concerns, right? Aside from that, you just want to know what worries them and just maybe help ease their mind. How familiar are you with the buying and selling process? We talked about this earlier. It helps you understand the experience with purchase and selling process. So this is kind of like a repeat of the other question. How has your search been going so far? It's going to help you determine if they've already been looking at houses, and maybe if they worked with another agent, and that's when you can ask them, by the way, did you sign anything with another agent? Did you sign a contract with them? Because if another agent's showing property, you have to have a signed contract to show property, right? Some agents aren't doing it. They should be doing it because that's a finable offense. So that's information, but that's good information. But so also, you want to know what they looked at. So that way you don't email them properties that they've already looked at. Maybe they went to a few open houses over the past 2 or 3 weeks. And when they tell you which homes they looked at, you can get feedback. So what'd you think about that house? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? Um, start that conversation. And you want to narrow down what their likes and dislikes are, because at some point, you don't want to send them listings of homes that they have no interest in, like maybe, I don't know, pool homes. They don't want a pool. So you're sending them emails with all these properties and homes with pools, and that you're just wasting your time, wasting their time sending them these properties. Or maybe they want a single level, but you're sending them single and two level homes. So you're gonna get to know eventually what they're looking for after you weed out some of the ones that they don't like. So you gotta remember, you have to listen, right? So you want to show them how smart you are. I understand we're realtors and we know the market and we're the professionals, but also listen to what their needs are, and maybe they're telling you something that they're not looking for or they want to avoid. And one of those things could be, I don't want to be too close to a major street, right? Because of the traffic noise, the car noise, noises passing by. Have you already looked at some homes? If so, how many have you seen? This is again the same question. What if we found the perfect house tomorrow? This is a really good question, because it shows you the readiness, right? If we found the perfect house tomorrow, are you ready to pounce on it? Or, no, we wouldn't be ready tomorrow. We'd probably be ready in a couple of weeks. We have to move some money around. We have to um, finish on the closing of escrow on our income property in another state, and then we're using that money, whatever it is, right? They'll give you more information. And these questions help bring some of that information out, because maybe they're not thinking about that. But these questions help bring all that out. What are your 3 favorite neighborhoods and why? This helps you, I guess, avoid having to show properties in 3 different cities, or one city in northern Orange County, another one in South Orange County. And it's like, okay, we're asking these questions for a reason. Why do you want to move into this neighborhood? Oh, because of the school district. Okay. Or a relocation or whatever it is, new job. But it doesn't make sense if you're looking all the way in northern Orange County and also South Orange County. So instead of saying, what cities would you like to live in? What city are you looking in, and what are the 3 best neighborhoods? Or if it's in a particular school district, then you're gonna know what neighborhoods are around that school district, because you're gonna look up the boundaries for that school district, and you can search for properties that way. What's your favorite room in the house? This is something that, that when buyers are looking for houses, there's always that one feature of the house that they're like, it might be the kitchen area, or maybe they want an open kitchen that opens to the dining area, and they entertain, and they like to have big meals and have their whole family there, maybe invite guests. Maybe they want a big living room or family room, something that the whole family can get together and watch movies every Friday night or whatever. Maybe they care about having a big yard, because they like to barbecue and have parties, whatever the case may be. Maybe they spend a lot of time in the bedroom. Maybe they're newlyweds and they want to start a family, and they're going to spend a lot of time in there. That could be a reason why. But it helps you understand, when you're looking at properties in the MLS to send them, which houses to keep in mind, to look out for a little bit more. How important is outdoor and garage space? Maybe they want a 3-car garage. Maybe they don't care for a garage. Maybe they want a patio with no yard maintenance. Maybe they want a big yard, right? Do they want a pool? Things like this. You're also gonna ask them about the number of beds, baths, square footage. So like, beds and baths, it's like, hey, so how many beds do you need? How many bedrooms do you need? You have 2 kids, each of them is gonna need a bedroom, and then a bedroom for yourself. So you're looking for a 3-bedroom, okay. Or sometimes they want 4 because they want an office, or 3 and an office, whatever the number may be. And then bathrooms, they want at least 2 bathrooms or 2.5 bathrooms. That might not always be an option with the bathrooms. You might have to settle for 2 instead of the 2.5, or the 3 instead of the 3.5, because there's nothing available. And then square footage, hey, what size are you looking for? Like, what's the minimum square footage you wanna live in? And they might have an idea, where our last house is, 2,000 square feet, we wanna downsize. Or we need more space because we have a bigger family now. Maybe the neighborhood, are they looking for an HOA that has a bunch of pools and parks and basketball courts, right? So this is gonna help you find the perfect neighborhood for them as well. How long do you think you're gonna live in the house that you're gonna buy? This is a good question, because maybe they're first time buyers and they're looking to buy a step up home, where they're gonna live in it for a couple of years. Use the equity to move into a bigger home, right? Sell the property, you made maybe a couple $100,000 on it, you're gonna move up to a bigger house. Or maybe this is it, this is the house they're gonna live in, and they're hoping to raise a family here and have their kids attend the local school and just live here for years. What are the 3 property characteristics you must have, and the 3 deal breakers? Examples are, we want a single level. That's one characteristic. We want a living room and family room. It's another characteristic. They want a 3-car garage. And not everyone's gonna have 3 things that they want. They just want a nice house that they want to move into, right? But deal breakers, a deal breaker could be, I'm looking for 2-story houses, but it must have a downstairs bedroom. So don't show me houses without a downstairs bedroom. That's a deal breaker. I don't show me any houses, like I said earlier, that are too close to the major street. Or I don't wanna see any houses close to the freeway. Whatever the case may be, but these are things that might be a deal breaker for a buyer. What are you looking for in a real estate agent? If they're new, they might not know. If they've worked with realtors before, if they've purchased or sold a house before, then they might tell you. And I think I have, might be the next slide here. No, I don't have it on here. So this is important, because if they've worked with a realtor before, why aren't they working with that realtor now? That's a valid question, right? If they had a great experience with them, they'd be calling that realtor. Or if that realtor was still in business, but they're retired, whatever the case may be, they might have not liked, they might say, I didn't like the communication with that realtor, they didn't communicate enough with us, or I can never reach them, when I call them, or whatever the reason may be. They're gonna tell you what they're looking for in a realtor, or what didn't you like about the realtor that you used them for, right? And this helps you understand what not to do with this client. Tell the client that the criteria is not set in stone. It's gonna be fluid, right? As they're looking, they might change their mind. They might see a house that they didn't think that they were gonna like, but hey, that's a pretty nice pool. Maybe we'll look for a house with a pool. We didn't think about that, but yeah, this is a nice area. It's tropical looking, so why not? Or maybe maybe they thought that they wanted something bigger, but after going into these properties that are 4,000 square feet, they figured, you know what, that's too big. We don't need that much space. Whatever the case may be, after they start looking at different properties, they might even change the style of home that they're looking for, right? Maybe they thought they wanted a townhome, attached townhome, but then they decided, you know what, we want detached. They're too close. All the homes are too close together. I can look out the window and see my neighbor's bathroom. I don't want that. I want a single family detached, with separate lots. So it's gonna change. The likings are gonna change. Then you wanna show your value. What sets you apart from all the other realtors? I mean, everyone's gonna send you listings, everyone's gonna show you properties, everybody's gonna submit an offer for you. What makes you different? What are you gonna do? I'm gonna search for the right home for you. Schedule and show you those homes, and again, this is what everybody does, but you wanna throw in something unique that you do. This is just to get your mind going here. write up, submit, and negotiate offers for you. So I'm not just gonna write up an offer for you to submit, I'm gonna negotiate an offer for you, I'm gonna negotiate a better price. Maybe negotiate that the seller pay the commission, so that you don't have to. I'm gonna manage the transaction myself, all the forms, disclosures, inspections, everything. There's other agents that use transaction coordinators, and they're not hands-on with the transaction itself, but I am. I'm gonna handle all the paperwork, make sure everything's in on time, make sure that we have all the signatures, make sure that we have all the disclosures that we need, and that all the inspections are scheduled in a timely manner. Hands-on. Well, not to mention that when an agent uses a transaction coordinator, sometimes they pass the fee over to the client. And transaction coordinators are charging anywhere from $400 to $600. And the agent says, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you're gonna pay for this transaction coordinator, because I don't wanna do the work. I don't understand that. I mean, it's cool if you can get them to pay for it, but. So review the purchase agreement with the client, show them a copy of the RPA and how many pages it is and what you're gonna be filling out, and just so they can get an idea of what it looks like now, because it's changed. Maybe they're either new buyers and they've never seen a purchase contract. And before they even start looking at homes, you can show them, hey, this is what we're gonna be filling out, this is what it looks like, this is how many pages it is. And if they purchased a home before, but maybe 5-10 years ago, it's changed. Hey, I know that you bought your house 5-10 years ago, whatever it may be. I just wanna show you how many changes there's been in the purchase contract. And then just go over it with them. Discuss it with the client, how you suggest to present the offer. Maybe terms, maybe contingency periods, things like that. Show them the first page of the purchase agreement, where it shows the price, the deposit, how many days the escrow is gonna be, so forth, the financing. Once they see this and they see the contract, I think they'll be more comfortable with you, right? Because you're comfortable enough to show them this contract and explain or translate anything that they have questions on. You don't have to show them the whole purchase contract, just show them, hey, this is what it looks like, or this is how it's changed. And then you want to show them the buyer representation and broker compensation agreement, and tell them that, explain to them that, first of all, what it is, and explain to them that agents cannot show properties without having this signed. And if they do, they can get fined. Explain your fees. And if you're gonna have to pay someone, Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, why not pay me? I'm here. You're comfortable with me. I listen. And explain that within the offer, you can request that the seller pay for the commission. You can explain to them how that works. There's the section of the purchase contract, and you have a copy of the purchase contract. You're gonna show them where it says that you're asking the seller to pay for your commission. And guess what? If we negotiate that, then you don't have to pay me the commission. The seller's gonna pay for it. But there might be a situation where they're gonna counter and say, I'll pay half of the commission, which means that Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you're gonna be responsible for the other half. Or we're not gonna pay any commission, so that means you're gonna be responsible for the entire commission. And you can explain to them that the contract is no more than 3 months, it's for no more than 3 months. And make sure that when you fill out the buyer representation broker compensation agreement, you check the box that says exclusive. That means that if the buyer at some point wants to cancel, the cancellation will take place 30 days after notice from either party. Make sure you give them a copy of the RBC. So now that they signed the representation agreement and agree to pay you a commission, now you can set up the search. You're gonna search the MLS and email on properties and schedule an auto email with the properties that best meet the buyer's criteria. And be ready, because sometimes buyers will complain that you did not listen to them. So when you're talking to them about sending the emails, the listings that are available, ask them, would you like me to send you everything that's available within that criteria, the price range, the bedrooms and bathrooms in that area? Or do you only want me to send you the specific properties, narrow it down to exactly what it is you want? And sometimes buyers will complain when their agent sends them everything that's on the market. And they're gonna say, they're gonna look through them and say, 10 of these 20 houses have pools. I told the realtor I didn't want any pool homes. They're not listening to me. And then they're gonna say, oh, 5 of these don't have a bedroom downstairs. I told them I only want properties with the downstairs bedroom. My realtor's not listening to me. And then they get frustrated, and you don't want that, right? So you're gonna ask them, would you like me to send you everything that's on the market, just to give you an idea of what's on the market, or would you like me to send you specific properties when I find them? And this is gonna change what you're gonna do, right? If they want every property, you're gonna set them up on an automatic email, so they're gonna receive every listing that comes on. And what happens with that auto email is the first email that comes through, it's gonna show them everything that's on the market. And then they have to click on the link to create an account to accept the auto email. And then what happens is anytime there's a new listing after that, or a listing comes back on the market after falling out of escrow, or there's a price change, they'll get another email. And this is when you set them on an automatic email for as soon as possible. This means they're only gonna receive an email when there's a change. There's a new listing, there's something that comes back on the market, or there's price change. And the alternative would be, if they don't want that, then you have to search the MLS every morning for any new listings that meet their criteria. And this is not gonna take very long, because you're looking at a specific area and there's only so many new listings in that area. So if there's one new listing, then it's just one new listing you have to look through. If it meets the criteria, you email it to them. If it doesn't, you don't send them anything, right? So you're gonna do either or. And like I said, sometimes when they look at when they opt in to the automatic email, there might be some properties they didn't think that they'd like, but they look at them and they're like, hey, actually, that's not too bad. So now they opened up their criteria a little bit. Any questions on this? Okay. So after they've narrowed down the homes to what they'd like to see, you can either have them select the homes they want to see, or you could just say, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I narrowed down the search of these 5 homes I want to show you on Saturday. I think these are the best fit for what you're looking for what you told me that you're looking for. Otherwise, they might say, we want to see all 20 homes you sent me. So it depends on how many homes you sent them, right? And they're looking at. But this is another approach, just narrowing down to 5 to 6 different homes that you want to show them on the weekend. And so make sure that when you're gonna schedule the showings and show the properties, that you adhere to the showing instructions for each listing, because there's potential violations for that too. So every listing is gonna have showing instructions. Well, not every listing, because some agents don't enter the information. But if there's no showing instructions, you wanna reach out to the agent via text, email, phone call, and schedule the showing. And then give yourself between 30 to 45 minutes between showings, because you want to get to the property, open the lockbox. Sometimes it's a little struggling to do that. You get into the property, they're gonna tour the house. At the end of the tour, they're gonna walk out, they're gonna be talking outside for a little bit about the property and what they want to do, and then you have to drive off to the next one. So that's, I think, pretty good time between showings. But as far as scheduling the showings, there might be some showing instructions that say use showtime or showing time. And there's a button there on the listing that says showing time. So you click on that and it'll show you a calendar of available time slots. And then you select a time slot, you reserve it, it notifies the listing agent, and the listing agent approves it. Or showing time will not be on there, and the listing agent will write down, contact listing agent, schedule appointment. Or text listing agent with desired time and date and wait for approval. Or there might be something that says, there's a lockbox on the side gate, go direct, no need to contact agent. So everything's gonna be different, so make sure that you adhere to the showing instructions. And just so you guys have an idea of what you're gonna see, go on the MLS, search for some properties and look at the showing instructions at the bottom of the listing. Just so you can get an idea of what agents are doing.
I have
Any questions on this?
yes, I have a question, Carlos.
Yes.
So, what if there are there cameras inside of the house typically?
If there are cameras in the house, there should be a sign that says that there's cameras in the house, but not everyone's gonna have those signs and not everybody knows about that.
Uh-huh. Would
Uh,
you advise your clients to tell you what they liked and don't liked about the house after they left the house? Because I know some have Ring cameras and I don't know if that's like a smart move.
I wouldn't be talking about it near the ring camera, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, before we go in.
Yeah, but also, I mean, that's a valid question because you don't want to be walking to the property and your clients are just gushing about how much they love this property. And
Yeah,
then that's leverage for the seller, right? Like, oh, they really want this house. Let's try to get some more money out of them.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I mean, you can go to the house and then just, have them write down what they like and don't like about the property. And then maybe, like I said, when you're talking with them outside on the sidewalk, looking at the house after the showing, maybe that's a good place to talk about what they liked and didn't like about the house.
Okay, perfect.
But yeah, no, that's a good question. That hasn't come up yet. And especially now with cameras everywhere,
Yeah,
listing agent's supposed to post something that there's a camera in the house. But again, a lot of listing agents don't know that.
I
And
noticed that when I was doing the leasing showings, there was like cameras and it wasn't on the MLS. So
yeah,
yeah,
well, they should post a sign up on the property.
yeah, no.
If they don't put it on the MLS, they should put a sign up somewhere in the property to let people know.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So before showing the properties, you want to make sure you have installed and subscribed to the Super E-Key app on your phone. You can find this on the Apple, what is it,
Yeah.
Apple Store? Or the Play Store for Android. I know, Joe, you don't like Androids, but people have them. It's part of life. Download the app. It's called Supra E-Key. And once you download that app, you're gonna have to call Orange County Realtors and ask them for an activation code. They're gonna ask you for a credit card. It's a subscription. It's about $15-16 a month. But they're gonna give you an activation code for it. And then once it's activated, they're gonna give you a 4-digit code for it. And when you go to open a lockbox, you have to have your Bluetooth enabled on your phone for it to communicate with the lockbox. And if you guys want to practice opening a lockbox, I'll have one in the office next week. I hope I remember it. For you guys to come in and practice opening the lockbox. Let's see. So show the selected properties, give the buyer a customer report. So when you go into the MLS, you can print out a customer report or a customer flyer. But the customer report has information on the listing, but it also has like, I think, lines for notes, for note taking or writing notes on it. So you can print out, if you're gonna show the 5 different listings, print out the customer report for each one of those listings. And give it to them maybe with the folder, clipboard, or whatever it is, and just have them write notes on it, on what they like and don't like about it. And please exercise safety when showing. Do not show vacant homes at nighttime. Always keep the door open when showing, maybe carry pepper spray or take a friend with you. But if you're gonna show properties and it's just you and like this big person that's, you guys are all by yourself, don't walk into the room ahead of the person you're showing. Make sure that if you go into a room, let them go into the room, stay outside the room. Don't ever go into the bathroom and anything like that. And then maybe keep an eye on where the other exits are when you're showing property and this person that you're showing may, seem a little strange. Just keep in mind that there's bad people out there sometimes. And don't be naive to the fact that there are some bad people out there. Also, make sure that you're walking throughout the house with them. Because there are some people that go around and look in the bathroom cabinets for medications or look for jewelry or money in the drawers. So try to, stay close to where your buyers are. But I mean, you have their contact information, you have all that, so I doubt that's gonna happen. It was something that used to happen before. Again, it happens in open houses at times too, so you guys ever hold open houses, be cognizant of that. Make sure that you tell the owners to put any jewelry away, any medications, any cash, anything of value away, locked away somewhere. And then, yeah, so you can carry pepper spray with you in your pocket, in your purse, whatever, or maybe have a friend with you when you're showing properties to someone that you just met. But again, you can't show property without having that representation agreement signed, so. So now that you showed properties, and the buyers want to submit an offer, maybe 2 offers. It's time to submit an offer. So tell the clients that prior to making an offer, you're gonna provide the necessary research identifying this. So what you wanna do here is, if there's a property they like, you're gonna do a CMA. Like, it's kind of like, it's what you would do for a CMA. You're gonna look up comps for that property and show the seller, the buyer, what the recent sales are, or recent comps are for that property. So let's say there's 2 properties that sold that are similar floor plan, and they just sold within the last month. You know what the asking price is, but you also know what the recent sales are for similar models. And maybe they have similar upgrades, whatever it is, to give them an idea, because they're gonna ask you, how much should I offer? I can't tell you how much to offer. I can give you information that will help you come to a decision on how much you want to offer. But I can't tell you how much to offer, right? If you want to get it, offer more than, than the last comp, or if you have information, maybe you talk to the listing agent and they already have 5 offers and they tell you they're all above asking price, then you could say, I would offer above asking price, because they already have offers above asking price. But you want to inform them, show them the evidence as to this is what the information is, and let them make that decision.
Do you ever experience listing agents lying? Like, we have a lot of offers, but they really don't. Is it based on, like, can you see what the days on market is, and that will kind of tell you if they're bluffing?
Are you insinuating that listing agents lie?
Huh?
Are you insinuating that listing agents lie?
No, I'm just not all of them, but I'm just saying, like, from my
Oh,
experience and what I've heard, I'm like, oh.
oh no, agents, realtors never lie about anything. Oh, I was being sarcastic. I don't know if that came across. No, there are some agents that'll tell you that they have 5 offers, and they need your offer as soon as possible because they're going to present them the next day, and they might not have anything, or maybe they don't have any above asking price like they said that they did. They have, or whatever. Yeah, so there's some realtors that do lie. Nobody in our office lies. So
Well, I know that, but like, what would you do in that situation? Like, I mean,
well, here's the thing, Joe. So there might be a property that's been on the market for, let's say, 45 days.
yeah,
And they had offers at the beginning, and something it fell out, whatever, one industrial fell out, but then they hadn't had anything. And then at the same time that you're showing, you submit your offer, there might have been 2 other people doing the same thing. There's
right.
situations where that happens, where you get a bunch of offers at the same time, you're like, whoa, just out of nowhere, I had nothing, and out of nowhere we have 2 or 3 offers.
Yeah.
So you can't tell if they're lying or not. I mean,
Yeah. Okay.
you're just
Thanks.
gonna have to try to negotiate the best you can for the client at that point.
Okay. Got it.
So to better serve your client, you're gonna search the MLS for comps, present your findings, and make an informed recommendation. And the recommendation would not be a specific number. You could say above asking price, or maybe above the last sale, which is probably more than the asking price. But ultimately, it's gonna be up to them on what they think, the number's gonna be, because maybe they can only afford up to a certain price, or maybe they're only approved up to a certain price. So you're gonna write up the offer. So, and submit the offer. So you're gonna obtain a property profile from the title company to find who the sellers are, the names of the sellers that you're gonna write on the contract. Have an MLS printout of the listing ready for reference. It's gonna ask, when you're writing up the offer, it's gonna ask for the address, city, state, zip code, AP number, who the listing agent is, who the listing brokerage is, and what their license numbers are. So that's gonna help you when you're writing up the offer. You're gonna write up the offer. You're gonna have the buyer sign the offer in person or digitally. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, which is very important, is at the beginning of the consultation process, after you ask them if they're working with a lender, if they're pre-approved or if they're paying cash, you wanna make sure that you have their pre-approval ready. So if they're pre-approved with the lender, have a copy of that letter and also their proof of funds for their down payment, or if they're paying cash, a proof of funds that they have all the money in the bank. That's very important because you're gonna need that when you submit the offer. And you don't wanna start showing properties to someone that, these are the things you're gonna need. So I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. I should have said this at the beginning. You're gonna get the buyer representation agreement signed, you're gonna get the pre-approval, and you're gonna get the proof of funds. If you don't have all three of those, I would not start showing property to anybody. Because, yeah, if you get the contract signed, what does that mean? If they don't have money in the bank, or if they don't get pre-approved for a certain amount, right? So make sure you have all those three things. And, again, if they're gonna pay cash, you don't need the pre-approval letter, but you will need a bank statement or something that shows that they have the entire amount somewhere. And for those of you working with buyers, they're coming in from out of the country, they have money in China or they have money in Korea, that's not gonna be good enough. The money has to be here in the US. So you're gonna write the offer, have the buyer sign the offer in person or digitally, and you're gonna send an email to the listing agent with the subject line, offer for 123 Main Street, whatever the property address is. And you're gonna attach the purchase agreement, the pre-approval, and the proof of funds. And if you're paying all cash, just the purchase agreement and proof of funds. And let the buyer know that there may be counter offers or addendums, and just let them know the possibility of that. And they're gonna have to sign any of those counter offers that come back. Any questions on this? Okay. So now the acceptance, right? You've submitted your offer, maybe you had counter offers back and forth, and they finally accepted your offer, and now what happens next? Call your buyer to congratulate them. Let them know, hey, congratulations, they accepted your offer, we're in escrow. Notify the loan officer that the offer was accepted, and they're gonna ask for a copy of the purchase contract. They might ask for more documentation, I'm not sure, but let them know. Escrow is gonna reach out to you to ask you for your client's information, contact information, email, all that stuff. And what happens next? So opening escrow after the acceptance. So escrow is gonna contact the buyer with wire instructions, and per the contract, the deposit has to be in within 3 days after acceptance, 3 business days after acceptance. So if the offer is accepted on Friday, the weekend doesn't count, that means the deposit has to be in by Wednesday. If the offer is accepted on Monday, that means that the deposit has to be in, the earnest money deposit has to be in by Thursday. Does that make sense? Okay. Instruct the buyer to call escrow to confirm the wire instructions to prevent fraud. So when escrow does email your buyer with the account number and wire instructions on where to send the money, instruct the buyer to contact escrow to confirm that account number. This is how people lose money. There's all these fraudsters that intercept these emails somehow and send like these emails disguised as the escrow company with wire instructions. And then the buyers don't know. They're like, oh, okay, it's escrow. Yeah, we're waiting for an email from escrow. And then they send the money, and once it's gone, it's gone. Did someone have something? Question?
No,
Okay. Let's see. They're gonna ask them for the full names for the buyers. Initials are not enough. It has to be their complete name, first, middle, and last if they have a middle name. Their contact information, marital status, how the buyer wants to take title, lender contact information. Okay, now this is escrow. What does escrow do? They serve as a neutral stakeholder and communications link between all parties to the transaction. They prepare escrow instructions. Escrow request or preliminary title search or preliminary title report from the title company. Request a beneficiary statement if debtor obligation is to be taken over by the buyer. Complies with lender's requirements specified in the escrow agreement. Receives purchase funds from the buyer. Prepares or secures the deed or other documents related to escrow. Prorates taxes, interest, insurance, and rents according to instructions. Secures releases and conditions as imposed on any particular escrow. Records deeds and any other documents as instructed. Requests issuance of the title insurance policy. Closes escrow when all the instructions of buyer and seller have been carried out. Disperses funds as authorized by instructions, including charges for title insurance, recording fees, real estate commissions, and loan payoffs. Prepares final statements for the parties' accounting for the disposition of all funds deposited in escrow. The escrow holder does not, this is what escrow does not do, they do not give legal advice. So your buyers should not call them and ask them any legal advice. They do not negotiate the transaction. There's times where the buyers call escrow and say, hey, can you ask the seller to do this? Or that I want a credit for this. No, escrow doesn't do that. The agents are supposed to do that on behalf of the clients. They do not offer investment advice. They do not notify the loan officer that the buyer's in escrow, so that's something that you have to do as a buyer's agent. During the contingency period, and we've talked about contingencies, so you're gonna order and schedule any inspections as the buyer's agent. And depending on how you wrote up the offer, if you asked for a termite inspection, you might have asked for a termite inspection, and you might have asked that the seller pay for it. In that case, the listing agent would schedule the termite inspection. But if you did not ask for that, and your buyer still wants a termite inspection, you're gonna want to order your physical inspection of the property and a termite inspection. And you want to do those as soon as possible, just to know what's wrong with the property, and you're still within the 17 days, but as soon as you open escrow, I would order any of these inspections that you're supposed to order. And they're at the cost of the buyer, so the buyer's gotta pay for these. Unless, like in most cases, it's customary that the seller pay for the termite inspection, but you have to ask for it in the contract. Order home warranty, so have the client, if you ask for home warranty credit on the purchase contract, then you can ask the buyer to reach out to the home warranty company to see what warranty would best fit the purchase that they're making. Order NHD report, I know that our escrow company does this, I'm not sure if all the escrow companies do this or not. But if they don't, you can order the NHD. Negotiate repair request for or credits towards repairs. So during the contingency period, once you have your physical inspection, termite inspection done, you're gonna submit a request for repairs. You may or may not submit a request for repairs, depending on the situation. If the buyer's going into this knowing it's as is, they're gonna just remodel the whole thing, and they're getting a really good deal, they're not gonna ask for repairs. Unless it's something that's critical, right? That has to be, I don't know, maybe foundation issues they want the seller to pay for, or something with the roof. That's usually what buyers are more concerned about. But in most cases, they're gonna submit a request for repairs. So you have to be ready to write that up. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna look at the inspection report. You're gonna share it with the buyer, let them look at it, and then what they're gonna say is, what do you think I should ask for? It's like, well, what would you like them to fix? And you can't, I wouldn't be petty about it and go through like cosmetic things. You don't want a new light switch. You don't want like little tic tac things. You don't want that, right? You want to maybe get the air conditioner fixed, or a window replaced, or I don't know, something. It's gonna be up to the buyer what they want, but so you're gonna be ready to write up a request for repairs. And what this is exactly what it is, a request for repairs. And then the seller could either say, sure, we'll fix it, or no, we're not gonna fix it. So decide what you want to do, buyer, or we're gonna give you a credit in lieu of the repairs, so that way you can fix it after it closes. Or they might do a combination of both. Hey, we'll fix it these things, but we'll give you a credit for this other thing. It's gonna be a combination of it. And then you negotiate, you say, okay, we'll accept that, or here's a request for repairs number 2, since you can't, you denied that one. And you can go back and forth, this can go back and forth. I mean, it usually doesn't, in most cases, I see that the seller just says, you know what, I'll give you $5,000 credit, then close an escrow for repairs, or whatever it is. And you're gonna confirm agreed upon repairs are complete, 5 days, when you do your final walkthrough, 5 days prior to closing. You're gonna walk through, and if there's any repairs that they agreed to make, you're gonna make sure that those repairs have been completed. If there were no repairs that were agreed to, then when you do your final walkthrough, make sure that the property is in the condition it was agreed to when you purchased the home. And my favorite chart, the transaction timeline. And I'm not gonna go too much into this, because we're gonna talk about this during the transaction checklist class, but the acceptance date is day 0, so the next day would be day 1. And then within 3 days, this has to happen, the buyer must have their deposit in, and those are 3 business days, so this is gonna move, right, depending on when acceptance was. But it says here that the buyer must have proof of the pre-qual or pre-approval, but we've already done that, because we submitted that with the offer. Buyer should show proof of down payment or cash. We've already done that because we submitted that with the offer. Buyer deposit to escrow, and again, that's business days. Buyer or seller evidence to act in representative capacity, so if they're sellers selling in a trust, out of a trust, they have to show their trust certificate or any documentation showing that they can sign on behalf of that trust or LLC or corporation or whatever it is. And the seller requests to HOA or for combination of disclosure. So escrow would order HOA docs, and the seller has to pay for that. So that all must happen within the first 3 days. And then by day 7, the seller should already have sent in their disclosures or any reports that they have on the property, including the TS and SVQ. Seller knows the property is located in common interest, so you already know by now if it's in an HOA. Delivery preliminary title report. So a few things that have to be done by day 7, right? And that the seller has to do. And then we're gonna go over to 17 days. So the 17 days contingency period is what's default language on the purchase contract, right? So those are the default dates or periods. And the buyer must remove their contingencies by day 17 per the default language, or maybe when you submitted your offer, you wanted your offer to look a little more appealing. So you said our contingency period is 10 days instead of 17 days. And that makes it a little more appealing, right, to the seller. But in this case, 17 days. And if the seller wants to send a notice to perform to the buyer to remove contingencies, they can do so 2 days prior that date. So they can send a notice to buyer to perform to remove all contingencies on day 15 in this situation. And what this is a way for the seller to cancel the purchase or the transaction. And this is kind of, I think, pretty much the only way the seller can cancel. In the meantime, the buyer can cancel for any reason within these 17 days. And as long as they don't remove contingencies. So if the buyers get to day 17, they remove all contingencies, now they can't cancel. They have to move forward, or if they do, they lose their deposit, or they could lose their deposit. But if the buyer does not remove their contingency, and the seller didn't send a notice to buyer to perform to remove contingencies, then that contingency period lives on. And it can go to day 20 and contingency is still there, and the buyer can still cancel for any reason. Right? Any questions on the contingencies? Because I know that can be confusing.
No.
Hold on, let's see who's. Give me 1 second, everybody. That was Sonia. All right, you had your mute off, so we could hear everything in the background. All right, so a transaction can close without having contingencies removed, because that's happened to me. I sent them so many notice to performs, like every other day, and they didn't remove their contingencies, and we still close when we're supposed to, but still, it's frustrating. So this is what the timeline looks like, and then you're gonna do your final walkthrough 5 days prior to closing. And again, make sure you let the seller know what day you're going in, and if the lockbox is still there, for you to access the property, or if it's not, then that the seller meet you there, someone meets you there to open the property, to make sure the property's in the condition that it was agreed upon or agreed to. And then escrow closes on day 30. And this is per the default language of the purchase contract, right? Actually, 30 days is, you're gonna write that number in. And the duration of escrow could be 30 days, it could be 32 days, it could be 35 days, it could be on a specific date. So let's say you wanna close on, I don't know, what is it today, the 24th of April? I wanna close on June 7th. You can do that, if everything aligns correctly. So, all right, let's move on here. Any questions on anything?
Can you show this transaction timeline to your clients in the consultation, just so like for the visual, for people who are visual learners?
Yeah, you can. And this will actually help you. Maybe this is something you can add to your initial consultation. Just show them what you have this, right?
Yeah.
You can probably show it to them during your consultation, let them know what the process is if they're first time buyers.
Mm-hmm. Do you, when you're dealing with buyers, the part where you kind of tell them your value and that kicker on why they should work with you, do you ever say like, no matter what happens, we're always going to get you your deposit back? Like, do you ever say that to them?
Never want to say that to them. I wouldn't even bring up their deposit, because if you say no matter what, and
Yeah,
then they remove contingencies, and then they have no intention of canceling, but then something happens, like maybe someone dies in the family, and then
yep,
they can no longer move forward, but they've already removed contingencies, they
yeah.
can lose a deposit. So if you tell them that they're never gonna lose a deposit, you can't, that's not something you can promise them.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because life happens, you know?
Yeah. And like obviously this timeline is like it could be shorter, right? Because I've seen like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
10 days escrow and 2
So
days.
this timeline is based on a 30-day escrow, but all the default language in the purchase contract, so the 17-day contingency period, the 3 business days for the deposit, when the disclosure should be in by, like, all this is default language from the purchase contract. Unless if you change the 17-day contingency period to like 14 days or 10 days, then that little box is gonna move to either 14 days or 10 days. Or
So
if
when you're writing this, what will help you determine what number of days you should write?
Well, if you just want to do a standard purchase, you're gonna go 30-day escrow,
Uh-huh.
and then you're gonna go by this, unless you're gonna go 30-day escrow, but you want your offer to stand out, so you're gonna say, I'm not gonna do 17-day contingency period, I'm gonna bring it down to 14 days or 10 days for
Mhm.
certain contingencies, right? And then for the seller, if the listing agent is smart, they're gonna say, hey, this is a good offer. We have 2 offers for the same price, but this one's reducing their contingency period. That means that they really want to move forward with this, because they want to, they're going to remove their contingencies a lot faster.
Mhm.
But no matter what, you want to get your order your inspection as soon as possible. Like as soon as you go in escrow, order that inspection, so that way you can see what's wrong with the house and negotiate any repairs before that contingency period arrives.
So when you order the inspection, like, do they usually come the next day? Like, what's your
Probably
experience?
within a couple of days.
Couple days? Okay.
Yeah, if you can get them to come the next day, that'd be great, but there's scheduling that has to happen, right? Because maybe the owners still live in the property, and maybe they can't have it inspected that day. Maybe they have family over.
Yeah.
So,
And if the, sorry for all these questions. So when the buyers pay for the inspections, right?
yes,
And that payment will be due at the closing costs, like at the end of escrow?
no, they have to pay for it up front.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would it be, I
It's
mean, would it
usually,
be after they do the inspection?
yeah, no, you have to pay for it before they go out there.
Oh,
And it's like, it's usually, I think, a couple $100 for the inspection.
got it.
There might be some inspection companies, there might be some vendors for all different services that will allow you to pay them at close of escrow. I don't know of any.
What's the price range I should tell the clients in preparation for that? Or like, do you just recommend me call the?
Yeah, I'd call a few different companies and just have, yeah, just say it's the price ranges between this and this. But don't give them a specific price, because if they call and
Yeah,
they have a different price, they'll be all upset with you, like, hey, you said it was gonna be this.
okay.
Carrie, do you have any questions?
Who, me? Karen.
Oh, not today.
Okay. Carrie, I know you don't have any questions.
Oh, no, I don't. That was a good presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no more questions, I guess we'll end it here. And then if you have any questions that you think of later on, you can always either email me, call me, or come into the office. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next week. And I think next week's topic is gonna be zip forms. We're doing
Oh, boy.
forms and send out forms for digital signatures.
Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you,
Right.
Carlos.
You're welcome.
Have a good day.